Greetings and salutations, everyone. Who almost fell. Today, I want to show you a workshop. First off, I am going to be routing power to it, but temporarily, I got this little bad boy wired in there, so we can at least have light. But there's the main power inlet, screwed into a board. Speaking of power, the placement of this is made so that way, right where that coil is, I'm going to drill a hole, and then that hole is going to have one of these sticking in it, and this is going to stick out of that, and this part's going to be under the ground, about 8-9 inches, then I'll dig the rest of it, and this will connect up to the little power box, and then I'll add a little 40 amp breaker there, so this will be a little 40 amp service. This is the outside, pretty much right about here is where the hole's gonna have to be. I gotta wait for the ground to thaw so I can dig a line only a couple of feet, because this is my power box. And just tap right into this bad boy. Once that's in, I can also then get an electric heater and potentially even screw it in. You'll notice I don't have any bracing boards. I only put them if I need them to hold something, mainly because these are not structural boards. A little tip to show you here is how I did it. These beams are not screwed into the metal bracket. I used 2 8-foot boards and joined them kind of like this. I just screwed into both sides, holds them all right. And because they're not screwed up at the top, I actually just cut these so they were a little oversized, so I actually had to hammer them into place. And that wall is effectively pushing against that wall on the top and keeping them pushed in. The bottom is screwed into the wood on the bottom of the shipping crate. And then how I placed my beams here, I put them in the crevice here, or in the pocket of each. So how this corrugated thing works is there is a corrugate part that kind of juts out, and then there's a divot. I put them in the divot because if I put them here, one, they would be flush up against there. And if you'll notice, I cheaped out and bought a very used one, if that wasn't apparent. You can see all the rust spots, all the little paint that I've done on the different rust points. So I didn't want to put them up against anything that was flat, because there's a very good chance that it was going to be bumped or bowed out differently. Like here's a prime example. I would have had to hammer this into place if the beam had happened to line up right with that. So in order to avoid that, I put them in the pocket. That also gave me the added benefit of being able to sneak the wires around. And then what I ended up doing was every few beams, I drilled a hole and shoved the conduit through. This back wall is joined and being pushed by the side walls here. That's what that little piece of wood is for. It's to push the top in that way, because I didn't want to have to screw into the metal, because that was just going to be a pain, and this is easy enough. Obviously, if these were supports of any sort, I would brace them all the way across. Like I said, you don't need to in a shipping container because these things are not structural. They are simply there to hold tools, organization, hold up insulation, anything that your heart could possibly desire. I was debating whether or not putting in insulation. I don't know, it's been doing pretty good. Plus, if I added insulation, I'd have to do something about those vent holes, which those vent holes absolutely are necessary, because otherwise, if you don't have those in here and you close the door completely, you just get condensation showing up on the roof, on the sides. And yes, they're directly on the outside. I do have these little things with a little gasket on there that I can screw over it. Those holes are patterned so they fit basically right here. So you can just look up shipping container vents and these will pop right up. Obviously, I'm not done. The beauty of doing a shipping container workshop is that you get to build this in stages. You don't have to erect the structure and be done in order to use it. I could have just dropped this here in the winter and threw everything in here and not even bothered, and then in the spring pulled it all out and then erected the structure. But it was oddly warm this year, so I figured I'd leave everything out and just go ahead and put the framing up. And after doing that, the thought was I could throw in some insulation. I could build on top of this, and off of that building, run kind of a nice awning off to the side, which I'm definitely gonna do the awning at some point. But for now, I needed a little workshop. Got my tools over here, tool chest. Those are gonna be hung up at some point. Little chest freezer. Got my parts wall back here. This is what I need to buy coming up. I still have to find a few things for this. I usually just run around and grab it as needed, and that has gotten annoying one too many times. So I'm finally going to just start stocking filters, oil, fuel filters. Don't know how much I'll use this. This is mostly for when I was camping out here, but figured I'd put it in here for a little quick hand washing in the summer. Once I have power, this will be plugged in, but since it's winter right now, that'll at least keep them insulated, hopefully from breaking open when it's freezing. These are gonna get raised up to waist height at the very least. Build a little shelf for them. That fits in here. And the nice part about this is, right here, it obviously isn't gonna do very well. This is a vertical bandsaw. It's not gonna do very well in its current state. It will be fine if I'm cutting small little things, but I have it adjusted in a way where I can move it completely angled around here so I can get material jetting all the way through the whole thing. I'm curious to see how this will do in the summer. Something tells me I might have these doors wide open. But until I get out there and test it out, I won't know. Until next time, I'm the Ill-Informed Human. Goodbye.